Hello, everyone. I have a very important question that I want to share that a lot of women I talk to get asked all the time that really makes them upset. So there are great questions that we get asked, like, how did you get such a beautiful smile? Or when can I see you again? Or will you marry me? Those are wonderful questions that almost everyone loves to hear. But there's a question that a lot of single women, especially powerful professional women, get really annoyed at. And that question is, why are you still single? And a lot of times if someone asks that question, they may mean it innocently, they may mean it not so innocently, but the root of that question is a lot of curiosity. You know, this person is seeing you as beautiful, successful, warm, whatever it is, the traits that they're seeing in you, and they're really wondering, like, why doesn't this person have a partner? And a lot of times when we hear that, if we're single, we take it really personally. We think there's something wrong with me. Like, why is this person judging me in this way? Why are they evaluating me on some, societal norm? Like, would they ask a man the same question? And those are all valid, things, but they might not get you closer to what you really want. Because most likely, if that question pisses you off, it's because that you don't want to be single. You'd like to be in a great relationship. And sometimes we're even afraid of sharing that, afraid of saying, like, yeah, actually, I do want love. So many of us take a lot of pride, for good reason, in what we do for our work and in impacting the lives of others through many ways other than being in a relationship. And we might actually feel ashamed of saying, you know what, I actually really want to have a great relationship. I want to be with a partner. I want to be cherished. I'm independent, but I'd really like to also have someone that I can spend my life with and share my life with. I don't want to go the next 40 years of my life alone. So if you're watching this and you're admitting to yourself, like, I hate that question because I would actually not like to be single, then it's beautiful, and I'm proud of you for being able to share that with yourself and even with others, that you do want to have a great relationship. It's okay to have that desire. It doesn't make you less of a woman. It doesn't make you less of a contributor, less of a lady boss, or any of those things, just to want a relationship. It doesn't mean that you're not a feminist or that you're not evolved. Relationship is one of the most important things in our life. In fact, studies have shown that loneliness is a bigger issue for our health and longevity than even smoking or obesity. So having connection in our life is actually a really big deal. It's a basic human need and desire, and it's okay for you to want that and to have that. So when someone asks, why are you still single, if it makes you feel ashamed, just notice that that shame reaction is a part of unearthing the desire and also unearthing what's really going on. So if that question doesn't bother you, then maybe you're okay being single, and that's totally fine. But if it does bother you, there's a few ways that you can address it, and I'll get to those in a second. But it's good to actually have some inquiry with yourself as well as you go through the process of, what do I say when someone says that? For each person, it might be a little bit different. Maybe you've just been getting over heartbreak. Maybe you have been attracting the same sort of man. Maybe you just don't get enough dates, even though you feel like you're really competent and really successful. Maybe you just never learned how to flirt or how to be open or how to attract the right sort of man. Or maybe you have a trauma or have some limiting beliefs or something that's kept you from being in love. Maybe you're just not converting your dates into relationships, or your relationships, you're self-sabotaging somehow. You're pushing the other person away in some way. So there's a million different reasons why someone might be still single. But the number one thing is just noticing, is that something that I want, or is that something that I'm actively trying to change? So many times we think, well, our love life is just whatever happens, happens, and it should just happen at certain times, like it should just be easy. And that's less and less true, because dating and relationships become more and more complex, the more and more complex that the world gets and all the technologies and all of those things. So it's not your fault if you've ever wondered why you're still single, or had some confusion around that, or had people ask you that, because them asking you is actually a good sign. It means they either want to set you up, or they want to help you somehow, or they're reflecting back to you that they think that you're amazing and that they want you to be in a great relationship, so they're curious about why that's not happening. So having some inquiry with yourself about what you think is going on is very helpful. And also just noticing any shame or desire or anything else that comes up, which is normally just a sign that this is actually something that's really important to you, something that you do really want. Maybe you haven't always talked about with other people. And when someone asks that question, it's also a great opportunity to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is one of the keys to creating a healthy and lasting relationship, whether that's a friendship or a romantic relationship. And of course, depending on who's asking the question, we can be vulnerable with the other person. If it feels like it's too much, maybe it's your boss, or they should not be asking you that question, but maybe it's someone in your life that you don't really want to open up to in that way. But if it's a friend, or if you meet someone at a party, you can always just say, well, I'd actually not like to be single. I'd like to be in a great relationship. And, sometimes I feel like I'm attracting the same sort of guy, and what I really want is this sort of person. Or, I'd really love to be in a relationship, and I just got out of a relationship, and so I'm doing some heart healing right now, but I'm going to be ready to date again in a few months. And so if you know anyone, I would love to get their number. So there's many ways that you can actually turn this question into an opportunity to meet someone new, to share a part of yourself, to practice being vulnerable. So it's okay to respond in a way that lets someone into your life and lets them help you a bit, unless of course you feel like it's asked in a way that's not very congruent with your energy or doesn't feel very good. And then of course you can just say, well, it's a mystery, and then leave the conversation or change the subject or something like that. You don't always have to be vulnerable. Being vulnerable isn't always better than not being vulnerable. It's just a choice about an invitation with how you want this person to be able to show up with you. So there are a lot of women that I speak to that they're not sure why they're still single. If they knew, they would probably not be single. So it's so hard sometimes to see our own blind spots in a relationship, because oftentimes we can't exactly see what's going on. So we might, read a blog post, or we might ask one of our girlfriends, or we might ruminate and overanalyze. And sometimes we come up with really silly reasons like, oh, maybe he didn't like my lipstick that day, or I kind of said this weird thing. And most of the time that's not actually what's going on. We're looking for meaning because it's hard to deal with the rejection or with the desire to have love that's not showing up. But it's actually really cool then to see a woman go into the process of seeing what's actually going on and getting that clarity. So one of the women that I worked with recently, her name is Rosie, and she's super smart. She has her PhD. She does investments, property investments, and she has a bunch of other stuff that's going on. And she's amazing. And at the same time, she couldn't actually see her own blind spot. She couldn't see what was going on. And when we started working together, she was in a place of feeling kind of heartbroken and some despair. She had just gotten out of a relationship and knew that she wanted to be in something healthy, but she kept going, why? Why is this happening? And when she asked herself that question, it wasn't necessarily getting any better because she couldn't see everything that's going on. But I helped her to figure out what her blind spots were, the patterns that she was reenacting with the men that she was attracting, and then how her relationships were going south. And now she's dating this amazing man who's also very smart and well-educated, who loves animals just like she does, and who has a really good heart. And they recently became exclusive and committed and official. And she said she's never been happier or had more passion. And so doesn't mean it's perfect. No, because relationship is not perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect relationship. But I'm really proud of her for getting the insight that she needed and then making shifts in order to have what she wants in just a short amount of time. So if you've ever wondered, what's the truth of this question for me, it's a great opportunity to do a deeper dive, and I would love to support you and help you get some clarity with that. So I offer free 45-minute breakthrough to love sessions, which are a great way to get insight on what's keeping you from having more dates or converting those dates into relationships or keeping relationships going strong. And it's free, it's complimentary, but the catch is that I really like to support and work with women who are really ready to change. So if you're still kind of holding on to some of your fear or some of your doubts or some old beliefs around men or what's possible in relationship, then maybe it's not the best time. But if you're really ready to get to the next level in your love life, then I would love to support you with that. And I will put the link in the comments. So yeah, thank you everyone for listening and for joining in. I think this is a really important topic so that you can use these conversations and use these questions to create some vulnerability, create some openness, and you never know who you might meet when you just own your desire and express what's going on and get the insight that you need in order to create the right shift in your love life. So I will see you soon. Mwah.